Imagine for a second that the global conspiracy theories you see everywhere, the ones about shadowy cabals, secret societies, all of that.
The ones filling up your feed, yeah.
What if they aren't just, random internet paranoia? What if it's all a professionally managed, incredibly well-funded PR campaign?
And that is the absolute core premise of the material we're looking at today. It's an account from a man named Will Camden.
Right, Confessions of a Professional Conspiracy Theorist.
Exactly. And he was a high-level PR strategist who claims he wasn't hired to fight misinformation. He was allegedly recruited to create it.
So our mission here is to use his account to really unpack the playbook of these so-called information architects.
Who were operating, according to the source, from this secretive headquarters in Frankfurt.
And we need to figure out their strategic goal. What were they trying to achieve? And I think more importantly, what were they trying to distract us from?
Well, the framework Camden gives us, it's not about traditional censorship. It's not about control through force.
It's subtler.
It's control through psychological management. The sources suggest this network of old world elites was engineering these huge, elaborate myths to provide what they called a psychological comfort blanket.
A comfort blanket?
Yeah.
Made of paranoia. I mean, that sounds like a total contradiction. How is making people scared and confused comforting?
It starts to make sense when you think about what they believed the alternative was.
Okay.
They believed humanity was suffering from a severe case of future shock, just completely overwhelmed by the speed of the technological revolution.
Everything is changing too fast.
Way too fast. And when reality gets that chaotic, your brain just in.
Yeah.
It craves a simple structure. So by creating clear villains like the Illuminati in these old, easy-to-digest stories, they could manage that public disorientation.
It's an engineered narrative to make terrifying random chaos feel like an organized, understandable threat.
Exactly.
So to manage all that chaos, they'd need a base of operations, a nerve center.
And Will Camden describes his first day at this Special World Project headquarters near Frankfurt.
It sounds bleak. A cold, concrete, brutalist office building.
Right, less of a secret volcano lair and more of a soul-crushing corporate campus. But that aesthetic is key.
Because it's all business.
It's bureaucratic, it's strategic. And the centerpiece of the office is something they called the Long Blue Wall.
Which was this massive 50-foot-long collage. Photos, notes, strings connecting everything.
Like a physical version of every conspiracy chart you've ever seen online.
But why do it physically? In an age of servers and shared documents, why build a giant wall? What does that tell us?
I think it shows the scale of it and the mindset. That wall is described as the physical blueprint for the world's largest astroturf campaign.
Astroturfing, creating fake grassroots movements.
Right, and this was mapping how every major global conspiracy theory was being designed to connect with every major institution in our minds. It's like the visual strategy for weaponized complexity.
And the actual strategic why behind it all that was explained to Will by his colleague, Jez. And Jez's argument was that humanity is hitting this period of just unprecedented upheaval, and society desperately needs a new engineered worldview to stay stable.
This whole operation is the delivery mechanism for that forced reality upgrade.
Right, because our institutions, government, social rules, they move at a snail's pace.
While technology is moving at light speed, the architects, they believe organic social change is just too slow. The gap is too big.
So they have to force the issue. And to get people to accept an upgrade, you first have to convince them that the old system is completely, utterly broken.
Which brings us to one of the creepiest job descriptions in the source material.
Dave, the demolition expert.
Dave is this fascinating character. He's a sociologist, but also a former stage mentalist.
A very specific skill set.
A very specific skill set. And his job, managing what they called the old world parish, was a pure demolition job. He wasn't blowing up buildings, though.
They're blowing up trust.
Exactly. The source says he focuses on existing institutions, government, finance, the legal system. He doesn't invent problems out of thin air.
No, he just finds the real corruption, the real incompetence, the cracks that are already there.
And then he relentlessly, systematically amplifies them with targeted narratives.
Yeah.
He's a master of flaw amplification. His goal is to make sure the public feels deep in their bones how hopelessly knackered the old system is.
Which is, I mean, that is deeply cynical. The end goal is to create a public mandate for a complete system change.
By creating so much panic and despair, they believe people will eventually welcome the so-called New World Order.
Not because they're afraid of it, but because they're just exhausted, utterly exhausted by the old one.
They actually have a term for it. They call it providing a warm bath.
Wow.
The idea is that you, the listener, you're so overwhelmed by the perceived failure of everything that when this new organized system is offered, you just accept it to make the noise stop.
It really forces you to ask, when I read a headline about some bureaucratic failure, am I seeing a real problem, or am I seeing a real problem that's been deliberately amplified to drive me to despair?
It's a tough line to see.
But demolishing the old world is only half the job. You can't just create a vacuum. Paranoia needs a compelling new story to fill it.
And that's where Beth and Bertil come in, the chief architects.
Their job was to build? What was it they called it?
They joke about it being Religion 2.0, basically creating a new foundational myth for the modern age, something that could blend ancient mysticism with technological destiny.
And the specific example they gave, Will, is just bizarre, the 2012 project.
Right, we all remember that, the supposed end of the world.
But they didn't frame it as an apocalypse. They seeded the idea that 2012 was the mystical birth date of the technological age.
And this is where their technical skill really shows. They used semiotics,
The study of signs and symbols.
basically the weaponization of symbols. They focused on the number 2012 itself, specifically that zero in the middle.
And what did the zero represent?
They framed it as a divine void, a sacred nothingness that birthed the new era. It was meant to feel like both computer code and cosmic destiny at the same time,
They are literally manufacturing deep meaning out of thin air.
just to make an idea sticky.
Okay, but a good myth, a good religion, always needs a villain. A central monster.
And this leads to the most outlandish narrative Will was exposed to.
The reptilians?
The belief that the world is secretly run by giant, shape-shifting lizards.
Will apparently just burst out laughing when he heard it.
I think we all would. But his colleague, Jez, immediately gave him the cold, pragmatic PR logic behind it.
Which is?
That every stable worldview, whether it's a religion or a political ideology, requires a central monster. An easy explanation for why bad things happen to good people.
And the reptilians fill that psychological need.
Perfectly. But why lizards? Why something so bizarre? Why not just, corrupt bankers?
That feels more believable.
But it's not archetypal enough. Jez explains that the lizards are the modern world's perfect replacement for the devil.
The original reptilian shapeshifter.
The original reptilian shapeshifter, exactly. They satisfy that cultural need for a central, unseen, monstrous evil. The truth of it is irrelevant. The point is that they fill the archetype hole that secularization left behind. They are professionally managing our need for a bad guy.
And this all builds to the core insight of the whole account, doesn't it? It comes from a character named Hendrik.
Yes, Hendrik, this manic consultant who advises old families on new problems. After all this talk of myths and lizards, Hendrik just pulls the rug out.
This is the big twist.
It's the critical moment. Hendrik tells Will that the entire parade, the Illuminati, the secret societies, the reptilians, they're all just bogeymen.
The distractions.
Explicitly designed distractions. The entire point of creating these professional conspiracy theories is to keep the public from looking at the real monsters at the door.
And the source is incredibly specific about what those real monsters are.
And they aren't ancient secret societies. They are unstoppable technological and financial forces. Things that are happening right now that will genuinely cause massive social upheaval.
So what's on the list?
The list is artificial intelligence,
Okay.
CRISPR gene editing technology,
Right.
and decentralized finance, or DeFi. The architects aren't covering up a conspiracy from the 1700s. They're putting up a smokescreen to hide a technological tsunami that's happening today.
Because it's much easier for people to get angry about a secret meeting in a castle.
Then to confront the reality that an algorithm or a gene editing tool is about to make their entire profession obsolete. The boogeymen are entertaining. The real threats are systemic, impersonal, and, frankly, terrifying.
So if we just step back and synthesize all of this, everything Will Camden claims he saw, this isn't just propaganda. It is the professionalization of paranoia.
And it's run by strategists, academics, and semioticians, not cranks in a basement.
They see themselves as midwives, was the term. Midwives for a new world.
And their function is to manage what's called cultural lag.
Which is that painful gap between how fast technology is changing and how slow our social rules and governments are to catch up.
And when the old rules can no longer cope with the new reality, the midwives step in with a prepackaged story to, guide society where they think it needs to go.
And for Camden, the storyteller in the middle of all this, the final lesson is that old PR mantra.
Those who tell the stories rule society.
He realizes his skill, his ability to craft these narratives, is the actual foundation of this new power structure.
And that's really the essential message from this deep dive. We've seen the alleged structure, the personnel like Dave, the Demolition Man, the fake villains like the Reptilians, and the real threats they're supposedly masking. AI, CRISPR, and DeFi.
The knowledge really shifts your perspective. You stop seeing global chaos as just random noise.
And you start seeing it as potentially calculated psychological management.
So being well-informed today requires looking past the sensational, engineered bogeymen.
And focusing on the systemic, high-speed forces that are actually changing our lives, our biology, our economies.
Which brings us to our final, provocative thought for you to take away.
If these sources are accurate, and the greatest power structure today isn't based on controlling armies or money, but on managing collective attention, what does that mean for how you consume information every day?
If the real purpose of the most effective conspiracy theories is to distract us from those real structural threats, AI, CRISPR, DeFi, how do we decide which alarming headlines are genuinely vital?
And which are just beautifully engineered noise designed to guide our panic.
That's the challenge, discerning the truth behind a very, very compelling story. We'll leave you with that.